So this week I'm going to try to build this Stasha nesting dinghy, but unfortunately they're in metric, which is kind of annoying. So I think that'll just be a fun project to work on while I'm home in North Carolina for the holidays. Alright, we're starting by building the strong back. It looks like that. So you gotta make it 1400 millimeters and put a mark. Okay, juggling break. Ready? Oh, that's good. This is a really good boat here. I'm gonna use red oak for the stringers and probably the ribs also. The plan called for 10 millimeter plywood, which they didn't have, but I found this stuff that was pretty close to 5 millimeters. So if I glue two together, I think that will, yeah, just under 11. So I marked out my these bulkheads and stations. The way the plans work is it kind of tells you to go over, 30, over 50, and then like connects the lines. So it was pretty straightforward, just a lot of following instructions. And then these I use this cheaper hardboard to do because these are going to be part of the boat, and these are just going to be used kind of for the mold. Also for this one, I didn't have quite enough wood to do it in a whole piece, but I just glued it as pieces and pieces, and so I think that'll work. It gives it character. There's glue up number 2. I used all the clamps I had. So I just ripped this piece of red oak into these strips, and now I'm going to split each one of them in half this way again, and that will make up the stringers. I'm glad I had the table saw. Last time I built one of these boats, I did the whole thing with the skill saw, and it's doable. You can actually cut some pretty thin pieces like this. So I just set my blade. Looks good. And this stupid table saw, I couldn't lock the bevel. It kept tilting. So this is my workaround. There's a ratchet strap to hold it over so it doesn't get cockeyed. Okay, here's all the stringers cut out. They came out really consistent on the table saw. Planing a bevel into there. And that's, I guess, because of the shape of the boat. So now my bevels are cut. It's all beveled. Now I just have to cut these little notches out. Let's see how this goes. Cut them out like that one. Now I'm at the time where I get to attach the stations to the strong back. So now I flip this, and I need to drill holes at all these points here. And this will help for when I'm clamping these with zip ties. So I do a hole at each station point. So now I'm zip tying these stringers to these forms. And then those will just kind of zip tie to here. Put a little bit of epoxy in there. All right, I'm ready to mix up some epoxy and glue these into the slots. Add a little bit of filler to it. Start. So now the seams, just like add in some epoxy to all the slots, just like frosting a cake. To get this, these ones at really extreme angles, I had to drill a hole into the ribs to get the zip tie, because the zip tie kept sliding off the rib. Now all my stringers are glued in. I just need to, next I need to wait for them to dry so I can flip it over, and then I'll put in the gunnels. Oh man, this thing's getting heavy. Now the gunnels are glued in, and just use this to kind of bring that the last little bit of the way in. So it's looking pretty nice. Now it's time to start bending the ribs, and I got some out here. They've been soaking in water for a few days. Pulling them out. All right, got the first two in there. So these are kind of just like rough, they bend into place now. The challenge is there's a real tight kind of radius. These all have to fit into right here. So I need to kind of just pull these all the way down into it. So I'm not gonna use a steam box. The plans say I could just use a heat gun. As long as these are kind of still a little bit wet, it should work. So, you know, fingers crossed I'm able to do this. We'll give it a shot. I just picked up this little beauty from Harbor Freight for $15. Chinese factory smell. I got pretty close, but couldn't quite make it in. And I think this is actually partly a result. It broke twice on this one of the grain. You can see it's kind of running out. It wasn't quite straight grained in this piece. So I've had a lot of them break. Here, take a picture video of my broken rib pile. It's on that box. I think I'm finally figuring it out. You're just gonna bend them really slow if you're using this method. It's like the opposite of the steam box, where you gotta bend them like right before they cool down. And this one, you just gotta do it really slow. And it's only that much. And then go on to the next one. This one's already broke. So I'm not having much luck with this bending. I think the grain just was not, it was too much run out on the sides. I got one like bent, and I ended up breaking all of them, so which is unfortunate. So I'm giving up on steam bending because I don't really have time to get more wood and wait for it to soak for a few days. So I'm cutting these into smaller 3mm strips, and at this thickness, there'll be 3 of these strips. So one more, and they have no problem at all making the bend, even the tightest bend. So I went and taped off where the ribs touch so I won't get epoxy on them, and then I'm gonna epoxy these together. But I need to go get some more wood now. Bending them in 3 pieces is much easier. So she gets that nice tight bend right there, no problem. So I'm just gonna, I haven't added glue, so I'm just gonna let them kind of sit in this shape to make it easier for when I add the glue tomorrow. And I actually made a mistake when I cut them, so I need to go get some more wood for these last two. So I took off all my clamping screws, and now just gotta chop off all these excess stringers. Cut the plywood there. I just started putting the epoxy, but I ran out of clamps, so I'm gonna go over to Harbor Freight and get some more. I cut out these knees, they're gonna go right here, and I just need to sand a little bit of an angle onto them. Pour it into my Ziploc. Okay, now I'll separate my ribs. Let's try to see if I can do this with one hand. Okay. Gotta cut this clamped on here. And then I just kind of do a squiggly line. Now I clamped the first one, two together, and I put the next layer of glue on. So this is how much I got done on the boat. I got all the ribs glued now. And I'm gonna have to make this just part one of the video, and then I'll come back and I'll finish the rest of it and the other half for the next video.